Hi, how are we all doing today? My name is David Gugino, and in today's book review, I've got an interesting book. Book that I have is, all my books are interesting, but basically a guide, or an almanac of what you call it, of a very famous, I want to call him a philosopher, but a very famous businessman. So, I'm sorry, I really shouldn't be doing this. The book that I have for us today is a little different, but it is all about, it's basically an almanac of a certain entrepreneur, an entrepreneur who was an angel investor, was a starter up for websites of job seekers and other influencing websites, owns a couple of businesses, but is mainly an entrepreneur, an Indian entrepreneur. And this book that I have for us today is The Almanac of Naval Ravikant by Eric Jorgensen and was forwarded by Tim Ferriss. And Tim Ferriss was the guy who, which I believe I reviewed on this channel, but if not, I will look into that. So, I like what it says on the back here. Before we get into the book, I'll read what it says on the back. Getting rich is not just about luck. Happiness is not just a trait we are born with. These aspirations, Getting rich is not just about luck. Happiness is not just a trait, we are born with. So, getting rich is not just about luck. Happiness is not just a trait we are born with. So think about that. Now, I mentioned examples of the acting industry, like the luck comes in when you audition for a TV series and your TV series goes viral and makes tons of money, and before you know it, you're the star actor of the show. Or you play in a movie that all of a sudden makes you tons of money, but that's where the luck comes in, because you don't know what you're playing in is going to be a hit. But putting in the work to be rich and to be an actor and to be an entrepreneur or even a fitness influencer, it's not just luck. There's work in there. Like even in the fitness influencing, I mean, some of the bigger guys or the guys who win things, the luck comes in because they find out, hey, I'm pretty good at this, and their physiques or their knowledge, people tend to like, and that's where luck comes in. So people say the harder you work, the luckier you get. And the reason I believe that is because when actors continue to work on their acting skills and get better and better and better, then they play in a role that they do very well in, and it makes them tons of money. That's where the luck comes in, but they worked really hard to work on their acting skills and to get that role. So remember, the harder you work, the luckier you get, and that is how I view it. But now we're going to dive into the book here. So, the beginning of the book is called Building Wealth, and for those of you, the entrepreneur I mentioned at the beginning, that is Naval Ravikant. And money cannot buy happiness. It cannot. I don't care how much money you think you're going to have, the things you have, it will not buy happiness. Now you might think, what will buy happiness, David? What will? Well, honestly, your perception of life is what will buy happiness. So just think of that for a second. Your perception of life is what will buy you happiness. Now, what I have for us today is at the beginning. So listen to what I have here. Listen to this. Getting rich is about knowing what to do, who to do it with, and when to do it. It is much more about understanding than purely hard work. Yes, hard work matters, and you can't skimp on it, but it also has to be directed in the right way. If you don't know yet what you should work on, the most important thing is to figure it out. You should not grind at a lot of hard work until you figure out what you should be working on. So think about that. Listen to that again. You should not grind at a lot of hard work until you figure out what you should be working on. So for example, it's like working out in the gym. If you're in the gym and you all of a sudden hear that Arnold Schwarzenegger spent 6 hours in the gym, alright, great, and he looked like that. Perfect. You spend 6 hours in the gym, you get all swole, you get bigger, you eat your food, and you continue to grow, and you're like, yep, that's great. But also, you work out 6 hours, you're tired all the time, it's 6 hours out of your day you're weight training, and you might think, you are working really hard. You're a really hard worker in the gym, but what is the purpose behind knowing how hard you work and what you're working on? Now, yes, and really swole and love the grind, and people love your discipline of working out that many hours a day, but you also got to think, well, why are you doing that? What is the purpose to doing that? because it has been proven. You can work out for 45 minutes and still get a really good physique. I had a 45-minute workout this morning. But finding out what you should be working on, I think, is very important. And you got to find out something that passion is good, but passion, there's a different views of passion. Like, it's like with fighters who fight and they lose and they're not making any money and they're just getting beat up all the time. They're like, oh, I'm passionate for the sport. That's great. It is, but the thing you're doing is damaging your body. You're not making any money. And even with the fights that don't pay money, it's almost a full-time job training for those fights. Almost. But the point I'm making here is that finding what you should be working on. If you are constantly losing in the fighting world and you're not making any money and you're just getting beat up. Now, you might love the sport, which is great, and you love to be an entertainer. And I say constantly losing. If you're winning and then losing and winning, and that pattern's not going to make you any money, then you got to be working on something else. Now, your work ethic is there, which is perfect. You just got to take that work ethic somewhere else. And then before we move on here, listen to also what he says. It's about knowing what to do, who to do it with, and when to do it. It is much more understanding than purely hard work. Yes, hard work matters and you can't skip on it, but it has to be directed in the right way. And notice what he says here. When to do it. If you have no money, you can't just say, hey, I'm going to start getting rich. You have to start off with small goals. I'm going to start off making this amount of money. I'm going to save this amount of money. I'm going to invest in this amount of money. And there are stories of people who have no money end up being rich. But when to do it, I mean, you just got to have small goals, and you do it when your work ethic is there, when you have a goal, when you know who you want to do it with, and this is the best part, when you have a set timeline as to how much money you want to make. Now, you might not make as much money, but you have a timeline as to how much money you want to make. And having a timeline is kind of a smart thing to do, but it's also like, I got a timeline and it's making my job or my life a little more stressful than it might. But have a goal, know what to do, know who to do it with, know when to do it, and you do it when you have a goal, when you have a goal to set to make money, and when you are financially fit in order to do it. Go to the next thing. There's something on the other page that I want you all to hear. You're not going to get rich renting out your time. You must own equity, a piece of a business, to gain your financial freedom. And that's pretty much that. Just right in there. You must own equity, a piece of a business, to gain your financial freedom. You're not going to get rich renting out your time. So you're probably wondering, what does he mean by renting out your time? Well, for one, taking time with other people, taking time to go to this place and that place. Like, when you own something, you own it. And then you pay other people to do the other work, so you just sit back and make money, and that's how you do it. That's how you become rich. It's like with personal training. Online training is where it's at, but going face-to-face with a person is great. But the other issue is I love being in a gym, but I don't want to be in a gym 7 days a week. People have time to work out on the weekends. So the other issue is I really do not want to have to be going to the gym early Saturday morning when I could be sleeping in, and I gotta train myself, so like that's why online training is where it's at. So now the second thing that I have is this right here. So this is about making big decisions. We all have decisions in life, but decisions as in, right now I'm having decisions with whether to hang out with people over my days off from my job, and to work more on this, and to even train faster. But the main thing is, when it comes to spending more time making big decisions, is decisions with your time. See, you only live once, you only have a few minutes on this earth, and wasting your time, I really don't want to just be like, well, all I did was waste my time, like looking at social media, hanging out with friends, doing the same job over and over. It depends what you do. But see, your time is very valuable. A lot of people don't realize your time is valuable. It's like working for somebody that's mean. I'm like, yes, you need to make money, but I mean, I'm not wasting my time with this guy who's just going to continue to treat me like this. But now there's also different financial situations where you have to embrace the suck with that. But it's like, I want someone who either leaves me alone or is at least nicer to me. So your time is very valuable. Very valuable. And God gave you that time you have with your life for a reason. So think about that. Now what I have here is, listen to what I have here. Spend more time making the big decisions. They are basically 3 really big decisions you make in your early life. Where you live, who you're with, and what you do. There are basically 3 really big decisions you make in your early life. Where you live, who you're with, and what you do. Figure out what you're good at, and start helping other people with it. Give it away. Pay it forward. Karma works because people are consistent. On a long enough time scale, you will attract what you project. But don't measure. Your patience will run out if you count. Listen to that. Your patience will run out if you count. And do not measure your time. On a long enough time scale, you will attract what you project. But don't measure. Your patience will run out if you count. So now, you're probably wondering, now when you attract other people when you're doing a business and you're trying to teach these people how to do it, don't time your patience with people because it will run out if you can't. And not only that, if you don't have patience with people, people will not learn. And if you flip out on people and are mean to people when they don't learn immediately, they just will stop learning from you. Not only that, but they'll just not be around you. They won't talk to you because it's, personally and with patience, I mean, if you're not getting it after I've explained it in every way, shape, or form possible, and you're still not getting it, that is in your shoes. You need to figure out what you're not understanding, and you need to figure out how you understand it, how you can understand it. So with problem solving and improvising, I mean, when it comes to problem solving, when I was learning to be a diesel mechanic, I tried to problem solve as to how I wasn't learning this, but then I figure something out, and then they tell me, well, I told you that before. I'm like, I'm learning these habits, trying to, but it's really, really hard to do because they expect me just to learn it like that, primarily because I don't think they wanted to do any work, but that's not the point. You find out how to retain that knowledge. You figure out yourself, you problem solve how to retain that knowledge. And I think that is the most important part of problem solving, is solving your own issues, your own quirks, your own ways you learn, how to overcome fear, like solving problems like that. Mechanical problems are a bit different because I struggle with that. But you will attract what you project. That is so true. It's like with muscles. It's like with my powerlifting. I attract people who want to learn how to get a heavy bench, how to be in the powerlifting world, how to gain muscle and do it naturally. I attract that because, I mean, I look somewhat alright, but that's not the point. The point is that I'm attracting people to where they want to learn how to build muscle and they want to learn how to do it in a very healthy way without going to certain things, if you know what I mean. And figure out what you're good at and start helping other people with it. I'm good at working out, and I've been helping people with it. Now also, like you said earlier, don't rent out your time. I mean, don't train with every person that wants to learn how to gain muscle. You figure out a way. You problem solve. You find a way how to explain it to them. You find out a way to teach them. And you find out a way to where they understand it so they know what you're talking about. And then before you know it, you're building a little business of personal training. Because your knowledge, the way you're spreading it, and the way you're helping people retain it, is helping them be better. So think about that for a second. And final thing I have in the Almanac of Naval Ravikant. So something I also might do on this channel, I mean, I still have books to review, but something that I might do is do research on like where the author got the idea for the book, how he wrote it, and just stuff like that. So I might be doing stuff like that here soon. Well, I say here soon, I got more books to review. But on the third and final thing that we have is, this is probably one of the best definitions I've ever seen or actually heard of about wisdom. So, when it comes to wisdom, wisdom comes over time. You learn from your decisions, you learn from your mistakes, stuff like that and so on. But this is one of the best definitions I've heard of wisdom. But before I get to the definition of wisdom, listen to what he has about being rich. You don't get rich by spending your time to save money. You get rich by saving your time to make money. So, like I mentioned earlier, renting out your time. What you do is you work to where you don't have to work as much to make more money. So that's why with personal training, there's online training. With building houses, you own a construction business building houses, like stuff like that. In saving money, you can't just save money. I mean, you can save it and invest it, but you save your time to make money. And the reason you do that is you make sacrifices with certain things with your time, and you use your time to do whatever your business is, to invest, to make more money. See, we're up 18 hours a day, maybe. I think it's 18 something hours a day, I think. Because we sleep for almost 8 of those hours. So yeah, 16 hours you're up. Now, you probably work a job. Let's say I work 12-hour shifts, but after my 12-hour shift, I have from 6 to 11 o'clock at night where I can find something to work on or something to do. But the point I'm making here is you have time, you just gotta find it, and you gotta find what works for you. Finding your rest time is hard. That's what I'm trying to find. And finding your rest time is not easy. Because, I mean, I like a 45-minute nap, I do, but there are days where I'll have to take a 30-minute nap. Or there are days where I'll have to just shut my eyes on the couch and then rejuvenate myself like that. Stuff like that. Now, the other thing is about saving your time to make money is that you save your time by making sacrifices and by choosing to do things like to work on your business and do other things. Like, I do love movies. I did love my life when I just worked and worked out and watched movies all weekend, which is great. But I had to have more going on. So with this, I'm hanging out with more friends, but I've been choosing more time to hang out with other people than to watch movies. So isn't that crazy? But I prayed about it, and the Lord answered my prayers. I have more going on than ever in my life, and I'm happy about it. Now you might think, is this time that you're doing stuff you're doing with your time making you money? It's not, but with seeing people, you'll eventually find somebody or someone who gives you an idea or someone who can help you make more money. Your fighting will help you to defend yourself, so I'm saving my time to invest in myself. But saving your time is valuable. It's yours, and God gave you this time. So do not waste it. And speaking of wasting it, the best part in this video, the true definition of wisdom. I believe this is the truest definition I've ever seen of wisdom. Or heard, I guess you could say. My definition of wisdom is knowing the long-term consequences of your actions. Wisdom applied to external problems is judgment. They're highly linked, knowing the long-term consequences of your actions and then making the right decisions to capitalize on that. In an age of leverage, one correct decision can win everything. So think about the first part that I just read. My definition of wisdom is knowing the long-term consequences of your actions. So, when it comes to consequences of your actions, if you do not sleep a lot at night, I sleep probably about 6 hours. I would really love to sleep 10. And I remember saying in my other videos I did sleep 10, but I didn't have I needed those couple hours of the day to get stuff done. But when it comes to sleeping that much, if you do not sleep well, you will not function well the next day. I can be tired, but you can not function well the next day. Those are consequences. If you continue to not function, you will continue to procrastinate. You will continue to be lazy with your procrastination, and get this, you will continue to find ways to get out of work so you can get back to your laziness and procrastination. Now you might think, well, what are you trying to say? Yeah, there are consequences to not sleeping enough, there are consequences to procrastination, and there are consequences to not wanting to work. Now, the point that I'm making here is due to you not taking care of your sleep or not taking care of yourself, there will be consequences. So, when it comes to wisdom, consequences to not learning anything in life, years go down the road, you will not know much. Now, you might know a trade really well. You might know plumbing, for example, super well, and you'll make $100,000 every year doing it, which is great. That's amazing. But you need to boost your credentials a little bit. What if you learned how to eat right? What if you learned how to work on cars? Because you can already learn how plumbing works. What if you learned how to work on this and work on that? Now, being a lifelong learner there's certain ways, well, like I just said, you could make $100,000 a year doing plumbing, and that's all you know. But if that's all you know, the consequences of just knowing how to do plumbing, is that's all you know. Now, yes, you make money doing it, but you don't know anything else. There's nothing there's nothing really that can have a conversation with you because that's all you know. And then the worst part would be, let's say you didn't do plumbing at all and you just worked a job, just a dead-end job, for example, and you don't know anything. The consequences for not taking your learner's mentality or not building a learner's mentality, it just means you haven't learned anything. You haven't learned how to make more money, you haven't learned how to save, you haven't learned how to be fit, you haven't learned a skill. I mean, it's kind of scary if you think about it, but consequences of your actions, it's like drinking alcohol and partying every weekend for years and years and years. And when all your friends grow up and you're still that way, the consequences are, you shouldn't have hung out with those people. Now yes, your friends changed, because I said they stopped doing that. But you chose to hang out with those people, you chose to continue to do it, when you knew in your head it will get you nowhere in life. So that's the other sad thing about people nowadays. They'll continue to make poor decisions, and they know they're poor, but they continue to do it because they either get a thrill out of it, they either enjoy it, or, this is also crazy, people think they're cool for making poor decisions. So, to wrap up this video, the definition of wisdom is knowing the long-term consequences of your actions. So, the takeaway for this video is, think of the consequences of your actions. Think about it. Before you do something, before you say anything, before you act on anything, think of your actions. So overall, this was kind of a longer one. I want to thank you all for watching. I know I kind of babbled on a little bit here and there, but this was a good book. It was easy to understand. I thought it was very cool how it was like technically written by 3 different people, but it was very good. It was very Almanac of Naval Ravikant. It's a good one. It's easy to understand. It has business stuff, it has life stuff, and just has some wise stuff you'll take with you for the rest of your life, and even right now with the situations you're in life. I want to thank you all for watching, and remember, think of the consequences to your actions, and you all have a great day.